to the Spot Real Talk. My name is Tiara.
I'm LaWanda.
I'm Tiffany.
I'm Ron.
And today we are back to talk about PowerBook 2. This is season 2, episode 8. And this one was titled Drug Related. And man, I gotta say, this was the best episode of the season so far.
Put a stamp on it.
Yes.
A lot happened.
Yeah, so you guys hang tight. We'll be right back to get started. We are back. Like I said, we're talking PowerBook 2. This episode was so good, and I heard Courtney talking about prior. She was saying that this was her favorite episode of the season, and I see why now. Man, this one was so good. Whew. So much happened.
I had to watch it again just to get my scruples together because I'm.
Yeah, I did too. I watched it a couple times.
Okay, so. I mean, we can go ahead and jump right into the juicy stuff. I mean, because there's no point in keeping the people waiting, you know. The Tejada family, my God, they had all the drama this week. And that big family dinner they had where, you know, Diana was dropping bombs left and right on everybody. I mean, she was showing no mercy.
Diana emptied the clip on all of them at the table.
Didn't need to buy. She didn't need any meat. You know, Kane was talking about where's the meat. She brought it all. She roasted everybody.
She did, yes. Including her mother.
Including
oh man,
she gave it to her the worst.
Yes, she did.
And, you know,
go ahead, Ron.
No, I just started to say, you know. As much as I kind of wanted to see it come, you know, happen like this, especially with Monet, because Monet did so much damage to Polo Zeke. I'm now worried about Diana.
I think she would kill her.
Oh,
I think
she would.
Yeah, I'm extremely worried about her. Very well.
I think she will, because I was like, Diana, like I get it. Monet has been lying, and you know, and she probably deserves her comeuppance. However, I was like, what black child is gonna be going in their parents' stuff and going all through their things and call like I was like, ooh, Diana's doing a lot.
That's where it started. She was going through Monet's stuff, and then vice versa. Monet was going through her stuff and found the condoms or whatever. But you know, Diana, it seemed like they were just nitpicking at her on little things like, oh, you weren't where you said you were. But then she just took it all the way to 100 and just turned up on everybody. I was like, it seemed like maybe it was a small argument that they were saying, oh, you weren't really at Zeke's game. But to her, it's probably been a buildup over the weeks of like all these small little things they've been nitpicking at her about. And, you know, Kane was already talking about her food, like you said, Ron. So Diana has had it. Diana has had it with that whole family. She snitched on Kane and told about him basically cutting the family out so that he could be the plug. And then then Kane in turn snitched on Drew and said that he didn't take out Everett like he was supposed to. And Zeke is like, what? You was gonna kill my teammate?
Yeah, that was funny.
Had a rude awakening right there. That's where he was like, what has this family been doing?
But of all the people that I felt sorriest for is Zeke.
Yeah.
I mean, it
felt 4 years older than you.
I mean, look, when you think you're 19 and you discover you're 23, I mean, come on. And you know, even Kane was like, damn, he's older than me. I mean,
and that's all Kane cared about. I'm not your oldest child.
I'm not your oldest. I mean, it's just one after another with Zeke. Zeke was just catching it. I mean, left and right. And you know, and then he has to worry about the NCAA. He has to worry about, you know, the draft. You know, and it's just like
that's all he was worried about. He didn't get look. He just found out that Monet is
his mama,
not his aunt, but his mama. And the first thing he says is, "Well, the NCAA regulations." That's your biggest worry.
Well, I mean, hey, you know,
it's a lot to process. I don't blame him.
I agree. I agree 100%. That's a lot to process because that's millions of dollars that could be slipping out your hands all over a lie.
Particularly, that's when that's all he's been, you know, kind of reared to do was to play basketball, and his only goal was to get to the NBA, and they just blew that up.
Yeah.
Listen, Kobe and LeBron went to the NBA without college.
Right.
So,
but that's
Zeke still got a future. He can play overseas if need be. He still got a future.
And you know, if a team wants you bad enough, they'll make it happen. So it's not over for him.
It ain't over for him. It ain't. In that moment, it seems bleak, but it ain't over for him.
Right.
It's dark right now. It's real dark.
Right. And so the thing that Diana kind of messed up on is that she insinuated that Monet was sleeping with Dante currently. And so, you know, Lorenzo was like, "Oh, word, like this is how we doing."
Well, remember, she heard that conversation that Monet was having with Dante. She was listening in, and I think, and you know, Monet would have been smart if when Diana approached her earlier and said, "We need to talk," because I think Diana would have brought some of that stuff up. But you know, but again, she shrugged her off, and I think that was another, you know, that was that stem that got lit under her, and she was like at the dinner table, okay, it's all over now. You know, I'm just gonna let
Monet brought that up because she was the one that said, "Oh, and you're effing Tariq, like you're out here doing that." Yeah. So when she said that, oh, so we gonna talk about so Monet walked into that.
Yeah, she did. She did.
Yeah, that whole dinner, man. Oh, if I could have been a fly on the wall for that, you know, that was. I mean, I guess my question now is, how does Monet come back from this? And do any of her kids ever trust her again?
I think Kane. I think because right now they're so divided and she and Kane kind of need each other too. So I think Kane will come around. I think Drew and Diana are going to be team Lorenzo.
Okay.
And Lorenzo is like, he might kill her.
Yeah,
right. Because he was like, "I think you should go."
Yeah,
I was like, "Uh-oh."
Yeah, when a killer tells you, "I think you may want to go," you go. And you saw what Monet did. She broke camp quick.
I mean, and it seemed like they had kind of started rekindling things. They were reminiscing over old memories, and then she took him out on a little date to distract him. They were at Coney Island, and so it was kind of like, okay, he seemed like he was in the moment, like things was going well. He even told her that. He told her, he was like, you know, I didn't think that you was really like into this situation like that, but after our date, I was kind of like feeling better about us.
Well, now
that's off the table.
Yeah, she wasn't into it like that. He knows that now. You know, and I felt a little sorry for Lorenzo because it was coming so fast and furious. He was what? Who?
That's what I'm saying. Everybody at the table has secrets, it seems, except Lorenzo. And he may have something that we don't know yet. Yeah. But everybody at the table has secrets. Zeke was innocent too.
Yeah, it's true. I'm just wondering about Lorenzo though, because he might still have some secrets up. You know, he had those conjugal visits. I mean, Monet didn't necessarily have to be the only one. So you never know. But I guess we'll see how that unfolds as the season goes on, because that family is torn apart. I don't even know how they can live under the same roof at this point.
Well,
one eye open, sleeping with one eye open.
Yeah, definitely. Both eyes. Don't even bother to go to sleep. Just take some NoDoz and try to stay up. But going after Zeke, you know, I think Monet needs to let Zeke come back to her. Zeke doesn't want anything to do with her right now, and you know, 100%, he's correct.
Well, the previews for next week shows her with Zeke and Mecca. So I think at that point,
he's going to demand.
It's going to be introduction, but it looks like they're going to be getting shot at while they at their little meeting, though. So,
well, if we want to talk about why they might be getting shot at, this whole situation where they were in desperate need of money. You know, Tariq needed money to pay Davis, and then Monet and Kane need money to also pay Davis. So Tariq comes up with this plan to rob the plug, which I'm like, isn't that just like Tasha? You know, scheming to do something grimy to get the money.
And Ghost.
Ghost was definitely for sure, but Tasha used to always be the mastermind that would feed the plan to Ghost, and Ghost would execute. And so Tariq is like a mesh of both of those, because he came up with the plan and then got Kane and the GTG folks executed.
And it reminded me of Kanan too, because when they were at that cafe and they went to the back to talk about the plan, it reminded me of Power, like with Kanan, like when he told Tommy, come on the back so we can talk about how we gonna get rid of Ghosts. And the back, it looked just like that area. So I was like, wow, that's reminiscent of the other Power.
But the plan, I wasn't sure if it was going to be a good plan and if they were even going to come out alive. But apparently it worked out. Braden used his white privilege again to get them in the door, distract the
that's going to come back on them.
Everything Braden has done is going to come back.
Yeah, and then, you know, Mecca taking out the chef, thinking the mole, you know, and
I think he knew it was Kanan.
There's no way he believes.
He looked at Kanan in such a way to say, you know, I took him, whatever they had, the chef and Mecca had, ongoing. I think that's why he took him out.
Yeah, Chef was already getting on his nerves.
Yeah. He was on the chef's neck, and I was like, what has happened?
Right.
For him to be on the chef's neck the way he was.
That. Yeah, it was strange. And, you know, but when he looked at Kane, I kind of got the idea that he suspects Kane being.
He knew. He knew. Kane is Monet's son. Yeah. And he's trying to get back in with Monet. So you don't get back in by killing her child. That's
the only reason he spared Kane. He already knows though.
Yeah, he knows.
Yeah. But the way Kane saved Drew, I thought that was commendable, because, you know, last week Kane talked about how everything he does is to protect him. He talked about how many other times he looked out for Drew, and now here he is coming through again to save him. So I wonder if Kane and Drew, their relationship might improve now that they have kind of done this together. And he even allowed Drew to, you know, get his revenge on Lil Guap, which that was looking shaky for a second.
I was like, Drew, why you gotta talk? You got a silencer on the gun. I was like, you don't have to say nothing. You're behind him. You could have just taken him out. And as soon as he allowed Guap to turn around, that's when it became shaky.
Right.
Yeah.
You don't pull a gun on somebody and then have a
conversation.
Yeah. Right. No, you don't do that. If you're gonna shoot, you know.
Right. Yeah, and he was going up the stairs. I mean, he was behind him.
Now, you know, my other concern too is, we know he choked him out, but is he really dead? I mean,
he put him in that chute. I think, because they showed him after he choked him out, he looked up and saw that it was like a laundry chute or something on the wall. So I think he put him in there.
I think he's dead.
I think he is.
And I think that this is like a transformational moment for Drew, because Guap was talking like crap about him before he took him out, saying, you know, like, you don't have it in you, you're not about this life, basically. And basically what Drew was doing is proving to himself and to, you know, Guap, that he could do it, that he wasn't soft like everybody might perceive him to be. And I think that that's something that Lorenzo recognized in him early on. Like, you can be in whatever lifestyle you in, but you still my son. You learned from me.
Well, he's got another drop on him, so another body on him. You know, that's another.
Listen, which doesn't bode well for Everett.
Right.
I think he might end up doing it. If he doesn't do it, Lorenzo or one of them is probably going to do it. But I think it might be Drew.
Well, they can't kill nobody else on this campus. Too many bodies have dropped.
Oh my God. Talk about another body.
A big body. This is another big name on campus. We seen at the end, Monet went to pay Carrie a visit, and Carrie had already had the worst day ever, which we talk about that in a second. But Monet told her, well, she basically told Monet all of her woes that had went down, And Tiffany, you kind of talked about this offline. Monet might have went in there to kill her in some other fashion, but when she heard all of her depressing stories of the day, she was like, "Oh, perfect."
Yeah, she pivoted, and I'm like, first of all, like I was like, these people just swing the door open sometimes. Anytime somebody comes to the door, I was like, "What happened to the peephole?" Like I'm big on when people look out here and see who's out there, and you may or may not get in. And I'm just like, if I was Carrie, Monet would not have made it into my house. I wouldn't answer. She would have had to shoot me through the door. So,
yeah, I feel you on that. She had also just gotten the text from Dean Wong, you know, basically getting ready to get fired. It seems to me when I seen that, especially after what went down at the trial, first thing I heard was, "You about to lose your job." Yeah. I definitely played that in my head. Look, then Monet popped up at the door, and I was like, "Uh-oh, you about to lose your life."
Look, if that were me, you know, my boss asking me, "Can I come in early so you can fire me?" I'll be like, "No, I'm good. You can just hit me up right now, because ain't no sense of me getting up early just to be fired."
Right, mail me the pink slip.
Yeah, I'm good. Just send it on right now. We're good. I'm good. I'm good. But I don't know, man. Let's that you know, Tariq again.
But hold up, before we jump to Tariq. Zeke walked in Carrie's apartment at the end, and he's seen her hanging there. How traumatizing is that for him? And does Monet's plan backfire on her?
Another blow for Zeke. I mean, like I said, that's why I said earlier, I felt most sorriest for, because it was like just a day full of how much more can go wrong for Zeke, you know. And Monet did say, "As long as you're around, my son will never come back to me," which is why I thought, does she have something to do with that hanging? Or, you know, was it that?
I think so. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you know, it made me think that way, but then I'm looking at Carrie.
You're like, can you pick her up? I know you're probably looking at the actual logistics, like how did she do it?
How it was done, you know. I don't see Monet being that, you know. I mean,
did she give her a choice? Did she pull a gun on her and say, like, you know, you can go this way? Or
no.
I think she probably didn't give her a choice.
Yeah. Maybe she did pull a gun and say, "Well, look, you got two ways to go. I can shoot you or you can hang yourself."
Or not, unless, you know, Monet always got some people around to do her dirty work, whether it's her kids or not, you know. Right. I'm doubting that the kids had any involvement. They definitely was not feeling her after that dinner. So she could probably call up some, you know, lower tier workers that she has somewhere and help her out with that. It'll be interesting once they realize she's dead, and then maybe they'll give us details on, you know, the actual murder.
I could see Carrie with her. I could see Carrie with her character. You know, she's now totally disgraced, and as far as she's concerned, she has nothing else to live for. So I could see
get another job. I mean,
I could see suicide, but I'm saying, you know, some people just can't live through the moment. You know what I mean?
And this is in the eyes of the public, because she was publicly embarrassed at the dinner.
Oh, definitely.
And then she got publicly embarrassed at the trial.
She sure did.
Yeah, so I could see her hanging herself, but you know, with Monet in the room, you can't rule that out.
I just can't see Monet not having anything to do with it. Whether or
not she has something to do
it at gunpoint, or, you know, what by whatever means. Because if Carrie had the strength to do whatever she did, Monet would equally, I think, have the same kind of brains and strength to do it. So it would, I would be shocked if Monet had nothing to do with that.
No, she definitely did. It was too good to let up. She had the perfect story. She was depressed. She just went through the worst day ever. She hung herself.
Yeah,
it's a clean case.
She had everything to do with it.
Wow. But I don't necessarily think she went there to kill her. I know she went there looking for Zeke. I think it came to her in a moment when she realized that, oh, if his automatic impulse is to come to you for comfort and you're here, then I really got to get you out of the way, because, you know, she just panicked thinking, how am I going to get him to come back to me? Because he needs someplace to land.
So you don't think it was premeditated? You think she thought of it in the moment, like, okay, you got to go?
Yeah, I think so too. Because she was trying to pick up, and then she bucked at you, and said, I'm gonna try her house and stuff.
Mhm.
And then when he got there, Zeke wasn't there. Because what if she got there and Zeke was there? She definitely couldn't have killed her or done anything to her then.
Right. That's a good point. Yeah. Oh man, I can't wait until they find out that she has died, because like we said, Stansfield has had all of this publicity for all the wrong reasons. And so now with another professor being, off, killed, or I guess dead, because they're probably going to call it a suicide. So we'll say dead. That's just another nick on Stansfield's, record for their reputation. And then too, I was thinking about the in the classroom, the kids, they had that conversation about truth and stuff like that. And Carrie ran out and said she had a family emergency. And so they don't really know what happened there. They could think that maybe whatever happened in the family emergency was part of the reason why she killed herself as well. There's all these good reasons for why she could have killed herself. So go ahead.
I was gonna say about Lauren, like, like Davis did his thing. Ryan, you said last week you didn't know how he's getting paid that much money. He tore up on Stan. He earned his keep. But Lauren, like, even though she took the stand, Carrie took the stand, they still have Lauren the tape. Right. And I still I don't see how Lauren gets out of still not testifying.
I think they still have to pull her in, especially now that Carrie is gone.
Well, let's talk about let's talk about Lauren's parents. I mean, they are.
Her mama is a trip. I was like, no, she is not over here less than over a dead professor.
Yeah.
I mean, and in front of your husband and your daughter.
Oh my God. I'm like, okay. I see somebody else that needs to be strung up too. But, but so I guess Lauren really didn't have a chance, because we see going back to her parents wouldn't have done any good, because you would think that, as a parent, you would say, well, where'd the drugs come from? I can't believe my daughter is involved with drugs. So where did it come from?
Well, if you heard them comment about Lauren's brother, they was like, at least he wasn't high enough to get caught. So
but that's my
maybe they are used to their kids being into some stuff.
That's snobbiness with the parents. I mean, you should know better than your daughter. Your daughter, you can tell, isn't a druggie. You should know better than that as a parent.
She's a good girl for the most part.
She's a good girl. And for them to assume that because the drugs were in her possession, or at least in her room, that she had something to do with it, those are snobs.
But we know these affluent parents. I mean, the same could be said of Braden and his brother, because they are, well, at least Trace is a straight cokehead. He had the plug ready to go, And I'm just saying, like, with the affluent family, sometimes their kids can get away with a lot of stuff under their nose, and they still think their kids are like the perfect angels. So
but with them, it was just the opposite. They were about as accusatory as the school in terms
and she even said that Malcolm, told the mom, said Malcolm told her, watch Lauren because she's on the wrong path or something like that. So
talking about Tariq, they basically called Tariq a thug.
Exactly.
Yeah, associations.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny they say that, because Tariq is blamed for a lot, and he does a lot, but a lot of the things that happened in this episode really didn't have anything to do with him,
Well,
but the stuff with Carrie, she brought that on herself. Like,
she really did.
Look, Tariq orchestrated that to the max. I mean, he actually got Carrie to testify.
The testimony, but she put herself in that
position.
She did. Definitely. Most definitely.
She did.
Oh yeah. I mean, short-mindedness from day one. She put herself in it from that whole point. Once she
and dealing with Zeke.
Yeah.
Even though she had been told to leave him alone and not to talk about him and all of this by Monet, the fact that she ever mentioned, it's a lot of stuff that she did that kind of set the stage for things to blow back on her. She should have just stayed out of it, or at least pointed him into a totally different direction. I guess she really didn't understand. And I'm wondering if she read the book, because if I'm correct, Jabari was drawing an association between Tariq and the family of the athlete because he put the whole thing together.
Yeah.
So for her not to recognize that if Tariq gets in trouble, it could somehow have blowback on Zeke, which can have blowback on you. The fact that she wasn't really piecing that together is kind of strange to me too.
Yeah, I think Carrie I think she might have felt some kind of guilt after Tariq talked to her. And that's why she went through with it, because I think in her eyes, she was like, I could at least try to do this one good thing. So
Lauren, because Lauren didn't deserve that.
Yeah, she didn't. She was the innocent party there. And so I think she felt guilted enough into doing that. And it was her judgment day, because Davis read her rights, gave her, he laid it out.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
She looked horrible on this trial.
I'm sorry.
Because sis on the jury was like, she was definitely judging. She was looking like, she heard all this snottish behavior, and she was like,
and I'm not saying she deserved to die. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying, but being as involved in all of this as she was, her wisdom, I wish had said, let me see my way out of it.
Yeah.
She should have not be involved in this at all.
She should have recused herself from the whole mess because you were sleeping with everybody.
I was about to say, especially given how judgmental she was of Tariq.
Yeah, if I had that many skeletons in my closet, there would be no way I would wind up knowing too who Davis is. There'd have been no way in the world you get me on a stand to talk about anything.
Yeah, I guess she felt like she could take that bullet for Lauren, given what she had put her in.
Yeah, because Lauren's life was in jeopardy. And it was interesting. I was like, okay, Tariq really cares about Lauren. Because I thought when he heard that tape that he was going to be really pissed. What he was, but he still was trying to save Lauren's life. And even when he had the conversation with Effie, he was like, I trusted her. The way he talked about her, Effie could tell that Tariq really has feelings for Lauren.
Yeah.
Okay, but let's look at saving her life. Everybody thought it would be Tariq that takes her out because of the tape. And of course, as you said, Tariq still had feelings for her. So I don't see much of her life being in jeopardy because, Tariq, he had feelings for her. I think that whole thing was just set up to actually get Carrie on the stand so that they could degrade her and break her down the way Davis did. But as you said, I don't know which would be.
Well, if Lauren had got on the stand, Davis was going to do the exact same thing to Lauren.
Exactly. He would have torn her apart. And still, as you said, I think it was you, Tiffany, I'm not sure, she still could be,
Oh, yeah. I did say that. She still can be on the stand.
That's why I keep thinking, and it would be a surprise, but typically in these situations, what do they make the people do? They make the people get married so they can't testify.
Right.
And I kept thinking, would they do that? Because it would definitely complicate things. He's already involved in this. It's not even a triangle, a square, because it's three different women, right? That all somehow know of each other. I wonder would they throw that in there as a way for him to protect himself and to protect Lauren.
Yeah.
I know her parents wouldn't have it, but would she even do that at this point?
I don't know, because when Effie was talking about like this whole side of Tariq that she doesn't know. She doesn't know that criminal side. And I just think that she didn't even come to court when he was on trial at first. And I just think if she finds out who he really is, she's not going to be there. She's not going to be able to deal with it.
Yeah, one of our spotters told me to just let Effie go. I can't let Effie go. I'm sorry, and I wanted to bring this up because Effie is, look, there's not, if you really want to protect Lauren, stay away from her. You should have never gotten involved with her to begin with. When you figured out who she is, what she is, and she's not about that life, the only way to protect her is to leave her alone. The moment you bring her into your mess, it's done. And we see how it could be done. It was done innocently enough for her, but nonetheless, she's now as much involved as everyone else in this triangle, quadrangle, I don't know what it is, but there she is. So if you really wanted to protect her, leave her alone.
Yeah. Go ahead, Tiff. You look like you got something to add.
I feel like Diana is also a wild card. Now that we saw that Diana emptied the clip on her own family, if Diana finds out that Tariq he slept with her and then he with Effie and stuff, I think she's manipulative enough to like turn up on Tariq too.
Oh yeah, Monet has taught her to be manipulative.
Yeah, that's a good point, because you know, Diana went there on Tariq last week and said, "Hey, I'm in," and if she finds out that he's now sleeping with Effie,
yeah, it's gonna blow up in Tariq's face.
Sure is.
Yes. It is. It's real messy.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to mention was about the Davis giving Tariq the tape in the first place, because I'm wondering if that comes back to bite him because of Saxe sleeping with Jenny and he kind of spilled the beans.
Pillow talker. Pillow talker.
Saxe is an idiot.
He really is.
Because let's point it out. First of all, you didn't see Davis give Tariq the tape because it didn't happen that way. Second of all, you didn't see Tariq play the tape. You only caught Tariq leaving.
No, he heard it.
He was listening from the
he
door.
He heard Tariq listening to the tape.
Okay, but my point is, you didn't see anything. So you didn't have to, I mean, look, you've been lying this whole time, Saxe, and now what? Truth is more important to you now, or come on.
I was just about to say that.
Come on.
I mean, he didn't say yes to Jenny, but he just didn't say anything. He just said that I can't talk about that. I can't tell you. He didn't say no. So that's kind of like, okay. Then
he simply could have said, I did not see Davis give Tariq the tape. And that would have been.
But then she asked him, did he hear the tape? Right. So he did say, I didn't see that, and I can't recall.
But you can see it all over his face.
Yeah.
Look, we know Saxe just doesn't like Tariq at all. And if he can get Tariq any way possible, he's going to do it. And that's what I saw with Saxe and Jenny. He really needs to get rid of Jenny. Jenny's it's what kind of relationship is
not above lying. He's not above lying.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Or any given day. So all of a sudden he's honest now.
Right. On his age. And now please.
Yeah, and then I wonder how this situation with Tariq giving Davis the ring that they stole from Mecca as payment. I'm like, oh, I wonder how this shows up in the future to bite him. Mecca, he has definitely showed us that he is no nonsense. He don't play, and he has the means to take you out with no problem.
Yes.
So Davis having that in his possession is not a good look.
No, it's not.
I don't know how I'm trying to formulate in my head how Mecca is going to find this ring. Where does he see Davis? Like, what scenario would they be around each other? I'm still trying to play that in my head and figure out that. So
I kind of felt like Davis got the fact that the ring was unique enough that, because he was talking about you have to fence it and you have to be discreet. It's almost like you need to take this ring apart and just sell the jewels, you know, and not the whole ring, because it is so distinctive. So what I'm thinking is, if he does that, maybe the person he tries to fence it knows it's so unique and recognizable that somehow that gets back to Mecca too.
And that's the other thing I think about Mecca. Like, Chef would have known where the ring is, but Kane also poked his head in.
Yeah.
While he had the, so I was like, he has to know. At some point, he is going to be thinking that Kane was involved. If he doesn't know that Kane was involved, I think he's going to figure it out.
Yeah. Kane better watch his back, because I know Mecca wants to get with Monet, but that ring was like you said, one of a kind. That might have been quite a grip of money for that. So he's already gotten his stash spot hit up. Now you taking my jewelry, like big pricey jewelry, things like that might be enough to tip Mecca over the edge.
Yeah. Mecca, that's a hell of a ring. And even fencing that ring is going to be, that's going to be a task, you know, and Tariq, I believe, said, okay, this is part of your, or this is your pay. You know, how do you get rid of a thing like that? Because it's so unique.
Yeah, that's gonna be interesting to see how that unfolds.
I wouldn't do it on the East Coast.
Yeah. The last thing I wanted to talk about with this episode is that it was mentioned about Yasmin that she has been adopted by another family wants to adopt her, and that Ghost set it up so that she could be adopted and so that she could have her name changed and have the record sealed so that nobody can really find her again.
Wow,
that was a blow.
Ghost is still alive. She's still alive. He is working beyond the grave. And Tariq is realizing the power of his dad each episode.
Yeah, that was some foresight there to think, you know, Tasha is going to screw up this family so bad that my kid could possibly end up in foster care. Like,
or that they were going to, or they could possibly be killed. I think he was thinking about, because he's the lawyer was like, in case the family is wiped out.
Yeah.
And he used that terminology. So he was thinking that they could possibly be killed. I mean, he was in the life. So he was just like, just in case, I want to give my daughter a chance to have a good life, change her name so nobody could find her.
And that goes to show how Ghost really felt about his family just before he died. I mean, he realized that the only salvageable person is Yaz.
Yeah.
And
he's innocent.
He's innocent.
Yeah, he pretty much said everybody else can go to hell. I gotta say that.
And I think he felt like he couldn't save Raina, so he probably was like, you know, I have another daughter.
Yeah.
If I couldn't protect Raina, I'll protect Yaz.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, but we know how the foster system can sometimes be rough in terms of like what families the kids go to, no matter how good they say they are sometimes. And then just the emotional turmoil that somebody as young as Yaz is going to go through, knowing that she has a relative out there who could possibly take her, but she can't be with him because of the circumstances. And even with Big Mama, like it's hard to know who your real family is and know that you can't be with them versus a child that is too young to know anything and too young to remember. She has to live with all of this information.
Yeah.
So, and I know that like was a low blow for Tariq too. I know that gutted him, realizing that that's a strong possibility, given the circumstances. The only thing that kind of gave me some hope is that the way Davis kind of presented him in court, it was kind of like he's a responsible young man. He's a straight A student. He's in Ivy League school trying to get custody of his sister. And to your point about the juror, the black lady, I think she really had sympathy for Tariq.
She did. She's like, when she said he's a straight A student going into an Ivy League school, she looked like she wanted to hold him up like Simba.
Yeah, because they're already going to be able to poke a hole in the fact that he did not kill the officer. He has an alibi for that.
Right.
So it's just one step to say, okay, if he didn't do that, then he has to be framed, right? Because if he can prove he didn't kill the cop, then where did he get the badge and where did he get the gun? Right. So he automatically looks framed.
Right.
Well, how about this? How much is Carrie's death going to play into this? Because she was a suspect at first, and then now she turns up dead. She killed herself. Could the investigation turn and they say, oh, she killed herself out of guilt, that she was the actual killer? And the young man, I wonder if that will throw.
Dead men tell no tales. I mean, you know, you could wrap this up as Carrie being the gunman, and you know, out of guilt and desperation, she killed herself. I mean,
I can see the trial turning on that.
If we still let her magically appear, a magic suicide note.
Yes, that's what I said. About
Of course,
I mean,
we can write it.
Anything can happen because it depends on how long it takes them to discover her body. Anybody can slip in there in that time frame, plant a little suicide note, outlining the whole thing, and Tariq could be out next week.
Yeah.
So
sounds good to me.
Off the hook. So
Tate is supposed to be taking a stand.
Thank you. I was about to bring that up. He's the next person to be called as a witness. And in the previews, you hear Davis asking Tariq, like, what does he know about you that I don't know? Because he's about to be called in. And I'm like, I mean, I don't think Tariq would blow, I don't think Tate would blow up Tariq's spot like that, given that he still needs that information, the picture of Sweeney. Mm-hmm. So I think that Tate will probably bite his tongue for now, keep Tariq's secrets, even though he's being questioned about the murders or whatever. But he's only recently been on that campus. He wasn't there for the murder of Jabari and all of the big drama on campus. So it's only so much that they can really ask him about that situation. Now, if they're doing him as a character witness, then they could probably bring about, I know you used to run with his father. His father has this history, and Tariq probably learned X, Y, and Z from his dad. They could try to dirty up Tariq's name by bringing up those past and having Tate testify to that.
I think if Tate is a forward-thinking person, if Tariq gets off, Tariq can always be useful to him, because Tariq will always be in those circles. And I think they'll be able to help each other out. So I think
so too.
And I think he feels like Tariq is easier to deal with than Ghost.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yes, he is. Mm-hmm. Because Ghost was very condescending to Tate.
To Tate, yeah.
And whereas, Tate is older than Tariq. So there's a certain level, like he can't go there with Tate the way Ghost would.
And mind you, Tate kind of defended Tariq last week when Carrie was, judging him in class. He was kind of like, they were asking.
His brother hasn't been convicted yet.
Right. Yeah. So he was kind of defending Tariq. So that's why I leaned to the side of him biting his tongue and holding in the information that he knows.
Well, Tate's the bona fide liar anyway. So, and he does it. Hey, look, let's call a spade a spade. I have no problem with Tate finessing, the jury. None whatsoever.
Yeah.
And just as you all have said, I believe Tariq will do him more good out of jail than anything else. So, yeah, he's fine with Tate.
Yeah.
Yeah, whatever happens to Carrie, whether or not people feel a certain way about Tariq, that was purely because of the Zeke thing. That was all about Zeke and Monet.
Mm-hmm. It was because nobody told her to go there. I mean,
right.
But I still think it wouldn't have happened if that dinner hadn't happened.
Mm-hmm.
When it did, Carrie was still alive.
Mm-hmm. That's a good point.
So look, thanks, Diana.
Right. And I was thinking too about the preview for next week. I know I said Tate might bite his tongue, but it looks like Tate might be upset with Tariq too, because Tariq was like offering his condolences about Carrie, and he was like, I didn't think, and then Tate kind of cuts him off and was like, you never think about anything. And I was like, oh.
Yeah, because another body didn't turn up. Because at the same time, I think that they're as complex and as a liar, as much of a liar as you say he is, Ron, I think that there is some humanity to Tate too, because he went
just in mad there. She got taken out before he could get the draw.
Right.
Yeah, that too. But he did try to comfort her when he talked to her last week, when she was like, my career's over, and he was like, it's not over. I've been where you are. So there's another side to him too. And he's probably like, Lord, Tariq, is this your fault? He probably blame her for that. And then he probably on Tariq's case because he still hasn't got the picture.
Right.
Well, that's true. Look, I agree with Tiara. All sides leads to those draws. And,
we know what angle he was working with Carrie.
Yeah, it don't matter. It don't.
But we knew that, right?
It also looks like next week, Jenny is asking. It looks like somebody that looks like Tate for hard evidence on Tariq, so we know she's on the case. And then it seems like the ghosts of Carrie and Jabari visit Tariq, and kind of like it seemed like he was in the middle of both of them. So I'm like, is this one of those moments where he's having some kind of, how the ghosts of people that he's killed come back and they're kind of confronting him. So I think he's going to be tormented about that. And I wonder too if Davis is even bothered by the fact that Carrie so-called committed suicide. Like, I wonder if he feels any guilt that his words would cause her to do such a thing.
I think he probably would, because that has to rattle him, because you know he went hard on her, and then number two, he did used to have a relationship with her.
Look,
but this is Davis we're talking about too.
Yeah, it's exactly right. It's all about money for Davis. He can care less. I mean, I'm sure he'll go, "Oh, sorry to hear it," but I don't see Davis. I don't see him losing any liquid tears over Carrie. I just don't.
But we do know Tariq has a conscience, and so I think that when Carrie and Jabari are kind of like visiting him next week, I think it's in the form of his guilt showing up. His guilt.
Yeah, his guilt.
Well, he's got 50 showing up at times, and now we have Carrie and Jabari.
Well, guilt, because didn't he help kill Kanan? I mean, you know.
Yeah. That's not good, too. You know, he needs to think about what he's doing.
Now we have to see his ghost. I think eventually. I
would love to see that, but hey.
We know you would.
Keep holding out hope.
Team Ghost over there.
Even seeing him as a ghost is fine with me. I'll take it.
Yeah. You also mentioned next week there's some kind of shootout with, you know, Monet and Mecca if they're getting shot at. And then I see Monet kind of ducking behind something. So can't we wait to see what that's all about?
I bet that's Lorenzo. I bet that's Lorenzo following Monet.
Might be. I mean, there is a clip next week of Lorenzo saying he wants to get revenge. It looks like he's telling Drew, like, we need to get revenge. And so I'm like, okay. I mean, you might not be too far off, Ron. Because we haven't really seen Lorenzo kill anybody. So we haven't gotten to see that side of him where he's like turned up, like straight gangster. He's really been on the inside majority of the time. So it's going to be good to see him in action and see how people view him in the streets. Because I know he has a name and is mainly from the past. The majority of the people running the streets now probably have not really heard of him in a limited capacity or never heard of him. So when he has to come back on the scene and make himself known, I think somebody's got to start dropping. So Lorenzo, he's gonna have to get his hands dirty at some point, and I think it'll be good for us to see it. Hopefully it's not Monet.
Well, he's got a good reason to get his hands dirty. So.
Well, we talked about this last week of how Mecca and Lorenzo would kind of figure out who each other is. So, I mean, it might be that.
I think if he follows her next week to that Zeke meeting, then he'll be able to put it together.
Yep.
And I can't see him doing anything else but following Monet. I mean, you know, because right now, this man he's torn. You know, he's been trying to get his family back together in the old way. And Diana just drops that atom bomb right there at dinner. You know, I'm sorry.
And now I have a question for y'all though. Now that Monet has been, you know, exiled from the family, do you think her approach with Mecca changes? Do you think she comes back and like, you know, is that offer still on the table?
Yeah, I definitely think things are going to change. Because where's she going to go? You know.
And you said one of the previews showed that she and Mecca met with Zeke. So yeah, I mean, because she's going to need cover one way or the other. And let's put it this way: she was done with Lorenzo anyway. So
yeah, had he not come home, she was getting ready to roll on him anyway. She was getting ready to come home and have a conversation with the kids.
Exactly.
You know, so.
Yeah, I just wonder how Mecca receives her now, because she basically said, "Don't talk to us again. Don't reach out. Stay out of our lives."
He's just gonna be happy because you see, he was pressed anyway. He was blowing her up. He had the ring. I think he just gonna fall in line. He's
still trying to figure out if he's like really in love with her or if he has another motive.
Oh, I believe that
because he is really pressed to get her back, and I'm like, it has to be some other reason he wants her back.
Some other reasons. Well, but what did Nook say though? Nook said he got some hard on. Remember, he talked too much, right? And Mecca choked him out. So I think for him, Monet is his one.
I believe that was a blue now diamond, and that is an expensive piece of work. And you got to be more than in love throwing that on somebody's finger. So, you know, I don't think it doesn't matter what Monet said.
The one that got away, you know, look, how it goes for Angela, like the one that got away.
True.
They always want them back. So, hey.
I just feel like he might have something else up his sleeve because
you're probably right.
He's not showing his hand all the way.
Right. It's probably more than that. And he probably knows, I mean, well, he's already in business with Kane. So he probably want to take over the business too. How about have her and take over the business?
And that's the only way it can survive, really, because they don't have a business anymore right now. The family is broken up. There's no business.
But he don't know. Lorenzo still has the business. He's working with the Connect. Remember, he gave all his weight to him.
Yeah, but we know that's going to end real quick.
Oh yeah, we know that.
Yeah. And then the question still remains of how does Monet, like they have to move those pills that they stole from Mecca to get the money for Davis. So majority of the GTG crew got shot up. And
well,
Effie
and Braden and them are going to have to do it. And let me say this about Braden. Braden is not ready for prime time because when they met Dude and Dude was trying to sell him the stepped on coke, Effie had to test it and let him know like this is. And I'm like, if he wasn't there, he would have bought it up. Like he does not have. He
has no street smarts.
He's not ready.
And I've been saying that all along.
He's thrill seeking.
Yeah, that's all it is. And when Sweaty was trying to, I mean, if that cocaine was mixed with rat poison, a lot of bodies are going to drop from that.
Yes.
So
and that makes your situation even worse, as we've seen in Raising Kanan.
I was going to say, what did we see from Kanan?
Exactly. So, you know, like I said, I love Effie, and I'm sorry for some of you spotters that think I should let her go, but Effie's my girl. Simple as that.
I like Effie. I still don't think she could be trusted.
You're right.
Come on. I mean, I think she has shown herself so far. I mean,
yeah, but she also has an agenda.
Well,
she has an agenda. It hasn't been
everybody has an agenda.
She has an agenda.
Everybody has an agenda. I just think, look, if you're going to be in that world, you got to have somebody that understands the game. Effie saved that whole thing about the drugs that Sweaty was trying to throw down on her. You know, Braden was like, yeah, we'll take it all. We'll take it all. Run for Effie.
Well, I think that Tariq, he kind of is justified in dealing with the three girls because he started with Lauren, but then she messed that up. And then he moved on to Diana. Okay, so Diana's there, but I think he chose Diana because Effie told him she didn't want to get serious. And so now that Effie came this weekend, he was like, I thought you didn't want to get attached. And she was like, I think it's too late. So now she basically was like, okay, I said something at first, but I actually want something else. So now the fact that he's locked in with Effie too, it kind of like, I can't blame him for dealing with the three women at the same time necessarily. Like, it kind of doesn't overlap, but it does at the same time.
He was all in for the most part with Lauren. He was being, they were boyfriend, girlfriend.
But she messed it up.
And then she messed it up. And then Effie, like, I think he feels like he can be himself with Effie. And
but she didn't want Diana, something serious.
Yeah. And he likes Diana, but Diana, the parent
was off limits.
Off limits, right.
But if I were Tariq, I mean, messing with three women that aren't in the game is bad enough on you.
Well, he should have told Diana no. Last week when I thought about it, I was like, this is a mess, especially because Diana was a virgin too. And you know, that first time and everything, and then you ain't gonna be all in with her. And you didn't take her and she's
and you know she got a murderous family.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, what do you
or since he had Diana, he should have said to Effie, we can't do this. I'm sorry. Because Effie can take him out if she wants to. Diana definitely has the means to take him out. And see, you're dealing
Kane or Drew, Lorenzo, Monet, take your pick.
Take your pick. So, you know, self-preservation has to kick in at some point.
Yeah. So I enjoyed this episode so much. Like I said, I think it was the best one of the season so far. Great job to everyone involved. Hats off. This was amazing. And if this is a hint at what we're going to get next week and for the finale, man, it is gonna be hot. I can't even think of how much more they can escalate it. They probably gonna leave us on a cliffhanger at the end of the season because I can't imagine it getting any more steamy than it is now.
Well, I told you what I think. I think season finale, Tasha coming out of Witsec looking for her baby. She's gonna get clipped, and that's gonna lead us right into Force.
Yeah, I don't know. I hope Tasha don't get taken out this soon, but we know she has another role on another show, so maybe she just, commits to that and they take her out on this show. Who knows?
I hope not. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong, but
Right, because I would still love to see some more of Tasha in this because I think that her dynamic and how she influences Tariq is interesting to watch.
I would have loved to see how she and Monet, have a discussion on how she works with Monet, because I think she would have handled Monet in a way that one or two things would have happened. They would either be besties or they'd be shooting at one another.
You know what was funny? A couple weeks ago when Courtney was having one of her Q&As and when she brought Michael Rainey Jr. on to talk and stuff, Notori Tasha was in the comments going off about Lauren, like, don't trust that girl. So she's still like a mama to him.
Yeah, and I would definitely love to see her back, and I'm still holding out hope that we get some more of the original Power cast making cameos, which they kind of announced. They said that Blanca was going to be back for next season. So I think that brings up the old investigations coming back to haunt Tariq in this new season. Ray. Yep, everything. And then we already seen that they announced a new teacher on campus. Yeah, and that's kind of what tipped everybody off that, okay, something's going to happen to Carrie because they're bringing in a new character that's going to be a teacher at Stansfield. So, yeah, they probably could have held that out a little longer before announcing that because I think everybody's antlers went up and was like, okay,
yeah, they should have They should announce that postseason because as soon as they announced that, people were like, oh, okay, Carrie's making her exit.
Yeah. But overall, I'm looking forward to it. I want to thank everybody for watching, continuing to support us every week. We certainly appreciate you guys. Please drop down in the comment section and let us know what you thought about this episode. Give us your predictions. Also, make sure you follow us on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, TikTok. We're now on Fanbase as well. Follow us there. And then in terms of our roundtable, we still have plans to do that before the season finale so that we can get all your juicy predictions. So hang tight for the announcements on that. And do you guys have anything else to add before we turn off? Nothing? All right, well, thank you guys so much again and have a good night.
Good night.
Bye.
Unless you talking numbers, we ain't speaking about the right things. Switch up on my nigga for a figure, that's not like me. Baddie with a body in the lobby, she like nice things. She used to know me then, she like me now, that's funny timing. Eyes been on that prize, I copped that cribbo for that timepiece. I'm trying to see the globe and sell out shows until the flight leave. They wanna ride my ties, but they ain't even ride or die, please. But I've been short on time, and in the prime of my prime easy. I said I never changed and leveled up, I guess I lied, yeah.